Welcome everyone. This is That Japanese Thing number 8. Today we're going to be talking about upcoming anime, general Japan news, Isekai Quartet, and then what we've been watching. I am Christopher. With me today is Dylan and Yesh. Welcome guys. How you doing?
Hey, good
Hi
you?
there.
I am okay, and that is great. Good.
It is good.
Good.
Indeed.
Let's dive right into our news stories.
Yeah.
I've got a few, and I might just talk about them all.
Go for
I'm
it.
not sure if I'm going to talk about all the new anime because there's a lot, and I haven't actually gone through absolutely all of it. I just got some highlights.
hmm
Everyone seems really excited for Spy vs. Family, Spy X Family, I should say.
Spy X Family.
Yeah.
If we're going to talk about seasonal anime coming up, Spy X Family is perhaps the second most thing I'm looking forward to from the new season.
I mean, I've been hearing about it for years, so it must be good.
After how anime has been going for the last few years, an anime not based off of a light novel is a bit of a novelty. Haha. But Spy X Family, the manga, has been continuously interesting for literally, I think, 3 years, maybe even more. It has become incredibly popular both in the East and the West, which is a bit of a unique situation. And it keeps picking up audiences. Different language audiences in particular seem weirdly attracted to it.
Yep. No, I mean it looks pretty good. Maybe we'll have a talk about it sometime
Indeed,
once we've
if
watched a
the
few
anime
episodes. Yeah.
goes well, we can do that.
There's one that's called Trapped in a Dating Sim. The world of otome games is tough for mobs.
It's tough for mobs. Another one that is really quite popular. Amusingly, this one is a third generation spin off of the isekai genre. The second generation isekai genre was the otome game Villainess, which is
Yes, yeah.
where, for some reason, whenever women got isekai, they got isekai into like a romance story as the main villainess. And now we are on to the evolution from that, where you are a mob background male character, usually, in the background behind the romance.
Sure. I mean, it
There's
sounds
a
like
whole
an
bunch of them coming.
interesting title. It looks maybe okay.
It's got giant mecha and fighting, so I'm
Yeah.
in.
I mean, I was talking to you like not so long ago about why there aren't more isekai mecha shows. So I'm interested in it, but
Knights and Craft or something like that. I
Knights
think
and
it was
Magic, right? Wasn't it?
Knights and Magic.
Yeah.
Kind of took that and crashed,
It
and
was so bad.
Japan is very negative about risk, or at
Yeah.
least most of the publishing companies are very averse to risk. So they keep pointing to that horrifically badly written thing as an excuse for saying that mecha just won't work.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
in the latest batch of manga and light novels, there is a quite successful light novel coming up that might just assist us in turning that around a bit.
I think with streaming the way it is at the moment, we will get it right eventually. Uh, do you remember, like in like the '90s, comic book movies were just bad, and because
Yes, yeah.
the first couple were really bad, people just didn't want to make them.
I
Yeah.
love how you say in the 90s, but Morbius just came out.
I haven't watched it, so I can't
Don't.
comment. Yeah, but anyway, I've heard some bad things about it as well. So, but I mean, my point is, it took a really long time because no one was willing to take that risk. But I think because just so many things are being made online right now, but we'll get to that point more quickly now. Hopefully.
I feel like with Netflix and stuff in the West, we are seeing more stuff being thrown at the wall to see what sticks.
Eventually,
But
they'll
I
make an
just
anime live
don't
action thing that
believe
is not trash. So,
Japan. Yeah, I just don't believe Japan will try things.
yeah. And then Kaguya-sama is
A new
coming back.
Kaguya-sama is coming. A new My Senpai is Annoying is coming.
I like that one.
A new Tate no Yusha, Shield Hero, is coming.
Oh, Ikki Towson is getting a remake.
Ikitosen. A new Ikitosen. Oh my god, it is the 90s.
It is the
A new
90s, yeah.
8-8 Live is coming, which I just never expected.
And then there's another sort of dress-up darling lookalike. Shikimori's not just a cutie.
That one is a romance first and foremost. Unlike My Dress Up Darling, there isn't a great focus on anything else. It's mostly about the romance. So I just don't think it will see the same degree of success. But for me,
I want to go back to Ikitasen for a moment.
sure,
Thank you, because I was just gonna ask if we could.
go ahead. Go
I mean,
wild.
we've all watched the first season. I mean,
Yeah.
I read the manga. Back, Jesus, when did this come out? So long ago, right?
A long time ago.
This is going back to like my formational years.
I think
so-
I have the DVDs. That's how I originally watched it.
Yeah.
2003. Yeah, it's basically that Full Metal Panic era of
Yeah.
anime.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? No, it was on Animax. That's where it came out here first, anyway. Which was like a brief time. There was like a satellite TV anime TV station, and it just had like the most like pumped up kind of opening song.
Yes, it does.
And yeah, then
And then the show was moderately disappointing after that.
it wasn't bad. Actually,
It was not a bad show.
it's
But
only
the
anime
op
I've
is
ever.
many times better than the show.
Well, maybe it's like one of two anime shows I can think of. There's actually a South African character in it. The black guy with the afro is supposed to be South African, although
I was just thinking in Durarara, they kind of suggested that the guy was like Nigerian or South African.
yeah, one of those as well. But yeah, I mean, it was a fighting anime, and it had special powers and such. But I read ahead in
Very
the
typical
manga,
90s shonen.
and
Yeah.
it got very tentacly at some point. So I don't think they could make the anime past a certain point, which is why they stopped. Although
I
not necessarily
Acceptable
didn't realize,
in the
yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
It was acceptable.
It makes complete
at the
sense
time.
now that you say it, Chris. Because I never read any of the background content, right? I only watched the anime. But
Yeah,
it
it
makes
just got
complete sense.
very,
Oh, wow.
very violent and kind of gross.
yep.
So maybe
Complete-
they're gonna skirt around that. Or they're
To be
gonna-
fair,
So
they
can
were
I-
making a Berserk anime until recently.
That's true.
If
Can
we're
I-
going to talk about violent and tentacly.
That's true.
But the
that's
way they
true.
made it, no one watched it. So
That's smarter than I expected, honestly, yes.
Can I ask, like, how do we get to the point where Ikitosen season 2 comes out or gets made now?
Well,
what goes into that? What decisions were made?
it's the same decision making that went into Full Metal Panic getting a season every 10 years. It's just something that's so unique to Japan, and no one really understands it.
Like, I wish I could understand the mechanics, because at some stage, someone in a boardroom 10 years
Has to
later must
accept
be
it,
like,
yeah.
like stand up and be like, maybe in my mind, like maybe I'm romanticizing this a bit, but there's one salaryman who has an undying passion for a particular IP, and it just bides their time until people have forgotten completely about it, and then stands up and he says, "You know what will be amazing?"
What happens is that each author only has usually one significant or major work to their name. And in Japan, a work stays under an author. So even if the work is incomplete, rather, and the author dies, it doesn't just get passed on. But that also means that the author then usually tries to stick around and champion for their work to be translated into an anime for years upon years after their work is complete. Traditionally, these get told no respectfully, because obviously, if it had a good translation or was popular, you owe some respect. But recently, there have been less works being offered to the major studios because a whole bunch of studios have opened. So a lot of these studios, who have been approached repeatedly about some previously popular works, suddenly actually have room in their production line to make some of these older works.
Yeah, that's what I was also
And
going to say.
access to the author.
It's also just there's been a bunch of interviews with studios since actually basically like since Giguk and Joey moved to Japan, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because they've gotten access to those people, and Joey speaks Japanese, so he can actually talk to people properly. So we've gotten like more insight in the sort of English otaku space about how these things work. And there's not enough space in Japan to make the anime that they want
All
to
of
make.
the things that they wanted to animate.
So I mean, they would love to make 4 concurrent seasons of something like Konosuba or Overlord or something, but there's so many other projects that are happening at the same time that you have to like book a thing like 4 years in advance for it to be made. So yeah, it takes a while, and I think it's difficult to outsource all of that work as well, because
It
quite a
used
lot
to be,
of,
at least.
I mean, there's only
China and
really,
Korea have
yeah,
started to very actively open up
I mean,
studios now.
but really only Korea like is the only other place that has studios that are capable of good animation and that you can
We've had
outsource things to.
2 anime almost every year for the last 3 years that are from China.
Yeah, and I mean the animation quality is good, but it's
It's
also
getting there.
very different, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's
yes.
a lot more CGI. The style is very much not the
Edgy. It's a
hand
lot
drawn.
edgier.
Yeah, I mean it is. It all looks like that uh, kind of looks like anime from the 90s, but in using modern technology, I guess.
So a Fist of the North Star style.
Yeah, a lot of people in suits, and it's kind of tall, slim characters and things like that. Which, yeah. Anyway, it's okay, but I don't think Japanese companies are happy outsourcing it to companies that are not going to be able to emulate what they want exactly.
Mm. My
Yeah.
point was more with these companies existing, a lot of projects are going there anyways from like publishers rather than from anime companies. So the actual anime companies in Japan have more room, more time in their queue to fit in these old projects that they have been saying no to for 8 years.
But also some of them have less as well because they've been taking longer to make.
They've been taking a while.
Yeah. And sadly, some of the voice actors and such have passed away, so they're having to actually deal with that as well at the same time. But yeah, it's just how it is. So every 10 years, we get a new Full Metal Panic. Maybe we'll get through the entire story arc before we die. Who knows?
So before we wrap this segment up, I did want to say, since we talked about Spy X Family being one of the 2 anime I think we definitely need to watch, maybe not all of us, but I would suggest watching from this season. The other one is Koi wa Sekai Seifuku no Ato de, or Love After World Domination.
I will watch it, but I'm not going to
It
be happy
looks
about it.
deceptively weird at first, or like not appealing.
It reminds me of it seems like it's a spin-off of Combatants Will Be Dispatched.
Kind of.
Like it just happens in that world, maybe,
No, I can see how you would say they're related though.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a world in which the Power Rangers fight villains, and then the leader of the Power Rangers and one of the leaders of the villains, fall in love and decide to try dating.
I in secret, yeah.
In secret, during battles.
It looks ridiculous. It will be ridiculous, but it might be fun.
I found the writing and the characterization incredible, personally.
Moving on though.
Indeed.
There is also a Eurocamp movie coming up, and there's a trailer that's been released for that. They're doing that thing where I don't know if it's just movie quality or if they're like gonna do like a time skip kind of age up kind of thing. And I can't decide which. There's not enough information in the trailer to make any determination. But I like it. It'll be a relaxing, cute little movie. And then, on like a complete tangent, there's been an increase in female attendance at maid cafes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And you might think, oh, that's nothing new. Like that's called a Prince Cafe, right? And girls go and But I mean maid cafes, so like female,
Maids,
yeah, interaction there, which is strange. And they did like a couple of interviews with the maids, and like most of the girls come there to like ask about dating advice, apparently.
Oh, really?
Or how to do makeup or things like that. Or just
I mean, that's great.
General otaku, and they're interested in that.
They enjoy cute things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, amusingly, this is something I kind of expected, because when it comes to VTubers, we're seeing the female audience increasing across VTubers. because they get asked questions about what it is to live life as a girl, what it is to date, etc., from female viewers. And female viewership has gone up very significantly for VTubers.
I was also going to mention there are VTuber maid cafes.
Yes, there are VTuber maid cafes as well.
And moving swiftly on, what do you guys have in terms of news?
Dylan?
Oh, me. So I don't know if you guys know, but the old HQ for Nintendo has been remodeled and it's been opened up as a hotel. This is the HQ
Okay.
that was in Kyoto.
Right.
And it's called Marufukuro.
Oh,
This is actually kind of interesting. So they've been remodeling it for a while, and of course they decided to open their doors to the public on April 1st. Promise you, it's not an April Fool's joke.
Sure.
It is a real thing. I think they just had a sense of humor as to when they were going to open it, or it was just simply coincidental. It's made up of 3 buildings, one of which is the old Yamauchi family
Residence,
home.
yeah.
Yeah, family house. 18 rooms in total, 7 suites. They've got a library that they call DNA, and it's dedicated to sort of displaying a lot of the paraphernalia. I don't know if you guys know a little bit of the history of Nintendo.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, okay. For those of the listeners who don't, it's a company that was actually founded in 1889. And they started off producing playing cards called Hanafuda.
Yeah, so Nintendo used to be a gambling company, essentially. Their first venture into electronics were pachinko machines and slot machines and that sort of thing. And then they dove into the arcade market, along with Sega and such. And they started making their own consoles, which is what they're focused on completely now. Well, really, Nintendo nowadays is a nostalgia machine, which reproduces its 80s content over and over again and gets new generations hooked on it.
I mean, it's kind of amazing because doing the math, they've been running with consoles for like maybe 45 years. The first console was 1977.
Yeah, geez, you're right. Yeah,
and they've been around prior to that for a lot longer than they've actually been making consoles.
What was it? The Famicom?
Crazy.
Famicom
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Famicom
yeah.
2 ran for quite a long time.
Correct. Yeah. Famicom.
What surprised me about the Famicom 1 is that the Famicom 1 connected to the internet.
I mean, Japan used to be the tech hub of the world. Sadly, no longer. But yeah.
In '87, they created a internet connectable console. That's insanity to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it couldn't do much. I think maybe you could.
No, it definitely couldn't. But it's still wild to think.
That pioneering kind of idea, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so rooms, your cheapest room goes for over $800 a night. So maybe, you can give it a look if you've got the money to spare.
It'll be less
Maybe
embarrassing to stay there as an adult than it will be to go to like the Disney resort for Star Wars, for example. So that's probably a good thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the photos. It looks like a nice enough hotel, and that's for the price. You get everything catered for. So
I mean, there better be just like a guy dressed up as Mario wandering around.
It's a me.
This is my mansion. Welcome. Yes, yeah. Yash, what you got for us?
I have that 93.5 million masks are being unboxed and passed around 3 years after they were delivered to the Japanese government because the Japanese decided they didn't like them. These masks, nicknamed the Abeno masks, were were officially boxed and stored for these last 3 years at apparently great expense because they had to be put in storage on an emergency basis, since it was assumed that they could hand them out to people, but then the Japanese public were very negative about them. As it turned out, that 7.3 million of the masks were faulty or not processed well.
It was a scandal at the time.
Yes, 3 years
and
ago.
yeah, and also they look stupid, so no one wanted to wear
They're
them.
they're a bit different to what the corner store masks look like. They are a bit smaller.
Yeah, they only
They're entirely
cover.
functional.
They don't cover your chin, right? So they only go from your bottom lip to just above your nostril holes.
From what I can see, they
That's really
can
weird,
go
yeah.
over your chin unless you have a fairly significant chin.
I
But
don't
they
know.
are
You need to
smaller.
be a child for it to actually. Yeah.
But yeah, the initial response from the public was quite negative. But 3 years later, people are kind of just tired of being outraged.
If anyone
so
wants to
they're
know what
just
they look
accepting.
like, they can just type in Abe mask and into Google, and you'll find out. They
Hmm.
look ridiculous, so no one wanted to wear them. There was some stories about them being faulty, so yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean,
So after
I am
the
surprised that the Japanese government didn't just offload them to like some third
somewhere
world country or
else.
something. Yeah.
So apparently they couldn't because they had to be investigated to determine if the government had committed fault. But the cost of storing them has now become so high that the government thinks it would be better to just get it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a freely supplied mask. I think it looks fine, but
Yeah.
you
I
were
mean,
to buy it. If you were to buy it, it looks like underwear that was sized incorrectly.
Yes.
yeah, it does.
It
It does look like
is small.
lingerie.
But 90 million masks were stored effectively for 3 years during the crisis. And
Yeah.
now people are like, I mean, if it's going to be free, it's acceptable. So 83 million of them are being handed out now.
Mm.
Anyway,
I saw pictures of the warehouse. It's insane how much space that actually takes up.
yep.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure it would. All right,
Anyways.
that's it for news, and next we'll be moving on to Isekai Quartet. So Isekai Quartet is a combination of the 4 shows we've already talked about in a chibi format, made like a afternoon special that would happen in those old kids programs that used to have like presenters who would jump in ball pits and dressed in like wacky colors and stuff, having slime thrown on them, and then they'd cut to like 10 minutes of Ren and Stimpy, right?
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. This is kind of what Isekai Quartet is. It's just a 15-minute anime with the characters from those various other animes in chibi, big head, small body format.
Slice of school life.
It's it's not slice of life at all. But it's a high school format, and it's a comedy. There's nothing serious about it whatsoever. It's just all the comedic aspects of those animes, with all of the gross stuff made fun of or ignored, I think. What do you guys think of it?
It is a bit of a difficult one because I have to admit, every time I see it, I can't help but think, look at that cash grab. But trying to get past the cynicism.
The opening song for the second season literally has a disclaimer as part of the lyrics.
But as I attempt to quash the cynicism, I will say it gives us an opportunity to look at the interactions between these characters, and each show does have some amazing characters. So I think the Isekai Quartet was a fantastic idea that a group of authors got together, chatted about how their characters would interact, and then went, "This is gold. We should put this in shows."
Yeah.
Do you remember from Douglas Adams' books, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Mm-hmm.
There was the Planet, which was just a giant publishing company.
Yes, yeah.
And that was the publishing house that published the Hitchhiker's Guide itself. That's what Kadokawa is in this instance. It just owns everything. And so they didn't even have to negotiate with anyone else for the rights to be able to do
this.
Which
is kind of incredible in its own regard.
Hey, we just own everything, and these authors have been talking, and they had coffee together, and someone was there, and they thought, hey, why not a show about the various interactions? And it is gold, isn't it?
There's some interactions that honestly had me like almost laughing loudly. So
The one that comes to mind is Ram and Kakita's talking.
Ram and
And-
Kakutas.
And Ram is like, the teacher said it, so it's decided. And Kakita's like, it's decided? It's decided. It's decided. And Demiurge just goes, I understand. And like Subaru's next to him, like, what do you understand? What could you possibly take away from that conversation? And that's this little perfect
Some of my
encapsulation
favorites
some of those shows. Yeah.
are Kazuma summarizing what's happened to him and what's happened to Subaru and going, "Your life has been cushy and easy, you fuck."
It starts off as like, this is going to be a buddy relationship. Yeah, basically the same thing happened to us, and both reincarnated. What, you died? You didn't? Well, not. I didn't die going to another world. That's ridiculous. It's like,
and these girls just follow you, and they don't like fail at everything they do.
Oh, and they're good and competent, and you like them. What? I hate you. Your life is so cushy.
Although I will say, in the second season, when it's beginning, all of the other male characters are pushing Kazuma to go peak. And Kazuma shows uncommon wisdom and goes, "No, peaking will lead to my death." And then they all like call him chicken and say someone has to do it and it's tradition. And Kazuma slowly starts getting convinced that he's going to go peak. And then Subaru goes, "Don't, it's crazy." And Kazuma immediately goes, "Yeah, it is," and gives up. So they've got some communication that shows that they are off a feather, birds off a feather. But
I think we're just going to be talking about various little things from the show.
It's difficult to talk about plot, mostly because the mysterious force that has brought them there hasn't been revealed or the reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
So
I don't
what do we do there?
I mean, everyone was just brought there by pressing a button accidentally, right?
Correct. So literally, Kadakawa said, "Make us money." How am I supposed to comment about that?
Push the money button. Money. Ka-ching.
And then the teacher side of thing, the teachers seem to know about as much as the students, basically, by the end of the second season.
Except maybe Roswell, he sort of maybe knows more, but is not saying. But that's
well,
only...
I mean, even Roswell is saying he doesn't understand how this world works properly.
Yeah.
So we're left with the reason they are together is money. Like, I mean, they're making it patently obvious. So we can't talk about plot. So we have to talk about character.
I mean,
every character is very well done. Sorry, Chris, what did you say?
It's a series of gags, and everyone is characterized in the most archetypical moment as that character.
On the other side of the coin, crossovers usually have one primary series and then a secondary series whose characters are slightly bastardized.
Yes.
And I've seen a lot of crossovers where the secondary series is not treated with as much respect.
And each of these episodes just sort of gives maybe two of the series equal time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
but like, for example, having the doll character, Ainz's monster creation, go up to Tanya Degoroshov's second in command and go, "Your uniform is perfect. Ainz would love it." Was like just hilarious beyond all belief for me. Because yes, exactly, literally.
The best scene maybe is for me is when Ainz, because Ainz is not actually all that smart or anything. He just appears that way to his subordinates. And so he's taking a test and he hasn't studied for it.
Yeah,
he has to pass it. So he does a time stop, right? And the implication of a time stop is only godlike beings will be able to avoid my time stop power. And so he does that, and then immediately like Aqua says, "Oh, why is everyone not moving?" And Tanya's also unaffected by it. There's someone else as well. I think
Subaru.
Yeah.
And it turns out anybody who's accustomed to talking to a god has experienced time stop.
Yeah, it kind of felt like anyone who's been through a time stop before would.
And so the only character who isn't is just Kazuma, because he's just a normal guy, right?
Yeah.
And so I think Aqua puts like pencils up his nose.
And tries to cheat off of his answers.
And so Ainz doesn't actually move because he just sees all this happening and decides to pretend like
he's not going to mess with this.
So
my favorite was we get to experience exactly what we're going to experience in the upcoming season of Overlord. Ainz accidentally stumbles across something that makes him get the correct answer, and by pure luck ends up just getting a perfect answer.
Yeah.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
realized that the teacher was making an image of himself as the answer sheet.
Yeah, Pandora's actor.
Pandora's actor.
So funny.
Did you guys notice, by the way, that they drew the rabbit with the red eyes at one point?
No, I didn't.
I did. Someone was holding it, weren't they? Yeah.
No, it was Roswell. Roswell was drawing an image of the horrific rabbit that Subaru was going to encounter in the next season.
Right. I thought someone was just holding the rabbit in like the fair or something as like a bunny.
No, well, maybe in the fair in the background, but in the actual episode where they were just before the test, Roswell drew the specific rabbit that was the Great Rabbit's like minion thing that eats Subaru. So this series was made before the new series of ReZero, but they were in production at the same time, obviously.
Yes, yeah.
So the production company just put that horrific rabbit with the title "Beware of Hunting Rabbits" or something like that. I forget, but I know that it was like a warning, and then they drew that rabbit, and I was like, "That's kind of chilling and horrifying, guys."
There was also some other Easter eggs and cameos. We see Shield Hero comes in the second season, which whatever. I mean, it's not the greatest anime, but it's fine. The interactions were quite funny, I thought. And we get just this one-off thing of when the school fair is happening with Cautious Hero, and
yes, Cautious Hero is entering,
and the goddess, goddess is like, oh look, what's his name? I can't remember. Look at the fair. Let's go in. And he's like, no, anything could be in there, and just turns around and leaves,
walks away,
without doing anything. This is just like a little perfect moment. I hope we get nothing more than that. That would be the best.
If they infiltrate the quartet too much, I think we'll lose the amusement that we should be wanting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that humor you can easily mess up if you try and pursue it doggedly too much. You got to try and keep it in these little encapsulated moments where it's like, oh, that's amusing.
I think the hierarchy of the school is also interesting because obviously your main cast or your reincarnated characters are students and their immediate gang, right? All the students. And then you get anyone who is an authority figure in the other world having like a teaching job, or is a groundskeeper, or is a headmaster, right? I think they did it really well with the generals being like the
head of the school,
headmaster, and then the head of teachers is the other general from Tanya. And then you go down and you got your three teachers, right? Is Roswell. I don't know why they chose Pandora's actor. That's one of them, but it's pretty
because
great.
In Overlord, Pandora's actor is set up to be the guardian of the vault, so he's never treated as part of the cast per se.
That's true, yeah.
He's almost like an add-on.
Roswell is your third one, which makes the most sense.
Now it makes sense, but when this show first came out, it was a bit weird that Roswell, because everyone else who's on the teacher staff is a little bit of an antagonist in a way. But Roswell and Pandora's actor was a bit weird. But as we'll see in the future, or at least we've seen in ReZero Season 2, there's some antagonism there.
And then you've got the two old men from ReZero and...
the two butlers.
Yes. We get Sebas and what's his name?
Wilhelm,
yeah.
Wilhelm, yeah.
As your groundskeeper kind of characters. They're great. It just does like their little they got their little tea hut, and they go tell like stories about relationships and things to each other.
Yeah, they kind of like separate themselves from the drama.
It was so good to get commentary about the Swordmaster from ReZero being like total bullshit from everyone. Everyone was like, so basically he's bullshit. Yep, that sounds about right.
Oh yeah, we didn't speak. There's Class B, right?
Yes, Class 1, 2, and 3.
Which is all of the ancillary characters from the shows. So you've got Chris from ReZero, and you've got, as you say, what's his name, Reinhardt,
yeah.
And just any other character.
The Purple-Head Paladin and all of those people.
The maids and those sort of people from Overlord are there.
And
I
then-
think it's go on. Tom.
Oh no, I was going to ask that character from Konosuba who's always like forever alone.
Mm.
What's
Mega
his
Man's
name?
friend.
Union. Yeah.
Union. The
Union.
fact that she did her play alone. Oh my god.
You know, like she's her own running gag in that series every now and then. Because no matter what she's doing it alone. It's great.
I think the play is first season, right? I think it is.
The
No, the play is
is
second season.
second
Second
season because
season,
it's
alright,
part
yeah.
of the festival.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
I like how they get Megumin to be the
Oh
understudy.
yeah, a totally normal person can't do this. Yes, a normal person would struggle. I understand why Megaman wouldn't want to do it. KKK.
She's yeah. It's a perfect use of the various characters' personality types that play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they respect all series very well.
And then,
They even used from Tanya's series that the second in command is like a glutton. I would never have thought that they'd bring that up because usually we were trying to keep cute girls doing cute things going.
Yeah.
do you mean
but
the
when
the Choco incident?
No, I'm talking about the special, the school lunch special where she ends up working all
You're
the
talking
time.
about
Yeah. Tanya, yeah.
What's her name?
Digger.
Visha.
Visha. Let's go with that. I don't think I can say the surname. But yeah, she's with her giant and the fact that the butcher is the
Background comment guy from Konosuba.
The
Background
Konosuba
comment
guy.
guy, always background commenting is one of the best parts about this.
Yeah.
He's like a hairdresser or something in Konosuba, isn't he?
He's the town's front guardsman, the hairdresser, a shopkeeper, and he is the front man at the brothel for the succubuses.
No, I think he was just going there.
Yeah, no, but he's taken multiple jobs. In each series, he works somewhere else.
Oh, okay. I didn't get that.
He's background comment guy.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And
I
he
mean,
also
he's
has
always
multiple jobs in Isekai Quartet as well.
no, yeah. He has. He's the shopkeeper for every shop. That's the joke in
During the sports festival, they actually make a specific reference to his background commenting. Because, in sports festivals in anime, they always show the two commenters talking into microphones.
Yes.
The one commenter is a normal schoolgirl from the school, and the other commenter is this guy. And he goes, ho ho, so that's the choice you made. During the horse, grab the band off the other guy's head
Yeah. The
contest.
Yeah.
I call it the horse fight, but I don't know what it's actually called.
It's a mounted cavalry something.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's it.
it's mounted cavalry combat. During that, while they are fighting, he goes, ho ho, so that's the choice you choose to make. And his co-commenter just looks at him and goes, what's
What
that
do you
even
even
supposed to
mean?
be?
Yeah.
I mean, his joke is he's always making NPC comments, right? In Konosuba.
Correct, 100%.
Yeah.
He's background comment guy.
And yeah, it's supposed to be ridiculous because he comes off as like the strong butch guy, and he's got this mohawk and whatnot. But he's just like the baker or something in Konosuba or whatever. And in this, he just makes no more sense than he normally would.
Sorry.
Yeah, so every season, or both seasons, has ended in the same crisis.
Yes, the destroyer has come back both times.
I think they've chosen Konosuba as the crisis point because it's the least serious thing. If they brought in an antagonist from any of the other ones, I think spoil something, perhaps.
Betelgeuse would be terrifying as an enemy because he's come through to help us with Valentine's Day, and that's it.
That was a wonderful use of him.
Love!
It was actually kind of sad because they I don't know, like they sort of killed him off screen at the end of that episode. I don't know if you noticed.
Did they kill him off screen?
Yeah. His speech characteristic is he doesn't say death, he says deaths, which is like death, right?
Yeah.
And so they
Subaru
starts saying death is what you're referring to.
No. At the end of the episode, one of the teachers finds out he's infiltrated the school, throws him out the window, and he splats, and last thing he says is death. So I assume that's just him dying.
No. After the end credits, you see him stand up and walk away.
Really?
Yes, 100%. I promise you.
I didn't notice that.
So Sebas finds him in the cooking area with Albedo.
Yes.
opens the window very politely, and then throws him out, and you hear a terrifying splatter noise.
Yes. Yeah.
And then Subaru apologizes for the weirdo that broke in and says death at the end of it, which I was like, what why Subaru?
Yeah.
And then after the end credits, there's a little scene where he stands up and he goes, oh, well, it doesn't matter. I did it for love, death. And then he starts walking away. Anyways, I achieved what I wanted to. And he walks off screen.
Okay, I must have forgotten about that.
There's a
But
lot.
yeah.
There's a lot that is kind of like that for me, where the specifics kind of
You're
know,
not
blur
supposed to have
away.
to pay attention to the show. It doesn't have a cohesive plot.
Yeah.
But I will say the interactions are fucking hilarious to me. And I
Yeah,
started to try and think about its purpose as a show. If I
Yeah.
hadn't watched one of these shows, I would become so certain I needed to watch that show. Because any
Oh.
interaction between any two shows I have watched is so funny
It's
that the
actually
idea of
why
missing other shows would anger me.
it's why
Mm.
I watched Tanya, Yash, because I hadn't watched Tanya when this was announced, and I was like, okay, I better get on that.
I
I
mean,
was
they
just
do that contrasting thing quite well, right? Like it's one of the things in Isekai Quartet that seems to be emphasized is that they'll take two shows or the characters or elements of the two shows, and then they'll contrast them against one another. So even if they're similar, you'll see the distinctions between them.
the themes of the shows are
It's like
very well represented.
it's like Subaru leaving with his harem. He goes home early, and then Kazuma from Konosuba's like, "You're so lucky. You get to go home with all of these gorgeous women, and they're all competent. Come to think of it, I'll go home now." And then he gets followed by all of his harem entourage.
From his side.
And then it just sort of your view swivels to the Tanya saga, the Tanya the evil crew, and all the guys are like, no, disappointed.
Disappoint.
I do love the Kazuma being carried to
School.
see.
And it took embarrassment from seeing another person see him that made him walk.
It was
And
Subaru
Subaru
being
as well.
carried by Ram, yeah.
Ram,
And
yeah.
they see each other and they're like,
I guess I'm gonna
"Oh,
walk
damn
anyways.
it." Oh yes, yeah. And I think Aqua gets in trouble for being late as a result of that. But yeah, it's difficult to talk about because it's just a fun show to watch. There's nothing deep about
Lots
it.
of references to the shows. For example, at one point, Tanya was going to try and kill Aqua because Aqua said she's a goddess. And Tanya hates God. And Subaru steps in front and goes, I need you to just breathe. Just think about it for a moment. And then Irons has to intervene and be like, does that look like a horrifying god that would torture you? For Tanya to stop. And afterwards, Irons turns and looks at Subaru and goes, she manifested power equivalent to an 8th circle sorcery. And he just kind of stood there. Normal soldiers would be shaking in their boots. How many decades of suffering must he have gone through before he walks away?
Like,
And just so you know how Tanya's suspecting everyone of being Sansei X during the
Yes,
thing.
yeah.
And Aqua's trying to convince her she's actually a god. And she's like, no, it's not this one. This one's just a normal human being. A dumb, normal human being that could not be Sansei X. But yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask, which of the two seasons' intros and outros did you guys prefer?
Season 1's intro, definite.
Yeah,
For me.
For me, season 1 intro and outro was my preference over the season 2's.
I like season 2's. Well, season 1's intro is just them talking, basically, right?
But it also says all of the show names in the intro.
Yeah, and then Kazuma does the Kazuma desk joke,
Kazuma des.
Yeah.
Hi, Kazuma des.
So I mean, it's funny. I think the second season was more like a polished actual song, though. So maybe I like that one a little bit more. And then the outros. No, I think I like the first outro more than the second.
I prefer
it's a bit more catchy.
I'm going to be a little bit different there.
Oh. What do you like about the
Pretty Pallades was I don't know. I felt like it was advertising Pretty Pallades too much.
The second one.
Yeah, the first one.
I don't
Because they
think it
put the
was, 'cause it
Pleiades
was-
in the second series more, but the
Yeah.
Ed for the first one felt like.
wasn't the first one the Girl Tea Party one
Am I mistaking it?
with Megaman, other Megaman,
What
and
was the second Ed then?
Albedo, the play one, the one on
Yeah,
the stage,
yeah. I like the play one.
the chocolate one, yeah. Anyway, yeah, it doesn't matter. I think I like the first one more than the second one.
Hmm.
Other than that, it doesn't lead anywhere. But there is a movie coming up, which is
Mm.
going to be interesting.
I think they're actually going to try and give us like a close to this.
Really?
I suspect so, because a lot of these projects are no longer being produced.
Okay. Well, until it takes its time.
Yeah, not really though. I mean, we are getting new things of each of the four in Isekai Quartet. So
So I
that
found
might
out that the new Konosuba thing is that there's a Konosuba game.
There's a game. There's also a movie, another movie that's being made. We're getting a fourth season of Overlord. Yojo Senki is getting something. I don't know if it's a season or a movie.
It's a new novel. It's not a new anime.
Is it? Okay.
Mm.
And obviously ReZero will come back at some point.
ReZero has to come back. It's making too much money. But
But yes, with
Mhm.
your logic as to how these things work, if Yoja Senki has a new novel, then there has to be a new anime so that they can sell their new novel.
You're right. So a new anime will be in production, but the way these things
Mhm.
work is that they won't put the thing into production until after the novel launches.
Mm.
And after they put it into production after the novel launches, we're going to have to wait 4 years.
This is true.
I mean, this takes less time to make than that, so maybe it'll be a bit quicker. Yeah.
This would take less time to make, but the new Yujo Senki anime.
I am optimistic that we'll get something sooner than that, but we'll
I
see.
used to be optimistic, and then One Punch Man season 2 happened.
Is it that bad? I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I
Anyway.
haven't seen it either.
But okay, on to our next topic, which is what have we been watching this week? And I'll be honest, mostly I've just been watching old Star Trek because I've been watching that new Picard series, and then it's disappointing places, most places really. So then I go and I watch old Voyager to remember what Star
To
Trek
wash
should
the
feel.
taste out of your mouth.
Exactly. And yeah, those series are long, so you know it takes up some time. So I'm still going through Gundam and various other things as well.
Mm.
I started watching Slow Loop, so that's a thing. And then looking at some old 1990s anime that just popped up into my stream. So I'm not sure if sure what it is actually. Just it looked like a space robot show that I hadn't seen before. So I'll report back on that at some point.
Okay, cool.
You guys?
I was asked, what am I watching? And I am watching Tri-Gun. I do so at least once a year, a rewatch of Tri-Gun. And I will say, I, for the first time in a while, actually got surprised at how silly Vash acts in one of the episodes, where he gets hired to pretend to be Vash the Stampede. It's a particularly good episode. I strongly suggest Tri-Gun. It was incredible.
Another
I
good
always love
ending as
rewatching
well.
it.
There's this it's one of those animes from that era that starts off as like that funny anime, then progresses to the serious kind of show. There's a vampire one that's like that as well. I'm just trying to remember it.
Helsing?
Maybe Helsing is like that, but Helsing is more serious from the. It's only funny because it seems
Yeah.
four stars like Helsing approach.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah.
I don't think so, because we get the girl getting her feet put into the plot is very entertaining in the beginning.
I suppose so, yeah.
And then only later on do we get Nazis and the Catholic Church.
I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
And it is played for humor with Alexander Anderson, I guess, as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sociopathic humor, maybe. But humor. I'm just thinking of like a white-haired vampire one. Yeah, it's not important,
Sure.
but the same thing happens to him that happens to Vash in that series. Where he like somehow it's like technology, invading his mind. Turns out he's a secret biological like
Super weapon.
experiment.
Sounds so familiar, but it might just be 3 other different kinds of anime.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that happens in Nadeshiko with Akita, right?
Yeah.
He turns out he's like an experiment, traveled back in time, sort of thing. Secret organization. Full Metal Panic.
Also, there's a high school comedy thing, and then
Yeah.
very quickly gets very serious.
And also, I mean, Full Metal Panic's not exactly the same thing. It is in the manga, but it's not in the anime. Because the anime is more serious, although not the first one particularly. It does start off with that comedy to seriousness that happens in the first series. But then they go on an interlude with Fumafu, which is just all the funny things that happen in the manga in between series 1 and series 2. And then series 2 is super serious.
Super serial from the get-go, pretty much.
And then, but they kind of went back to a more balanced approach in the latest season, where they have a lot of the city things happening as the main plot again. So, yeah, maybe that's just an indication of like how anime used to be made. Anyway,
I mean,
yeah,
like I've just on the nostalgia trips. I mean, I haven't watched anything new either, but I did introduce someone to GTO.
Oh, GTO is great.
And it's also one of the ones I've got a handful.
Talking about
anime.
favorite end songs, the first end song from GTO is great.
Oh yeah, I love both the intro and the outros.
Oh yeah, the intro is well. The first intro song is great. That the black and white one,
But what I was thinking is that it's amazing how times have changed, because if I had shown someone GTO like 10 years ago, it would have just been par for the course. But showing this person GTO today, and I'm like wondering, are they going to understand that this is just sort of my niche sense of humor? Because there's so many jokes that would be kind of almost risque today.
Oh no! Have you watched the 1990s live action GTO?
No, I haven't. It is on my list.
It would be impossible to watch with some people. You would have to constantly be excusing like the 90s-ness of it.
Yeah,
and, like, the Japanese 90s-ness of it is more like 70s-ness, really. When you consider how
they're quite conservative.
Men treat women in that show, for example, right?
Yeah.
It's really uncomfortable from a modern perspective in some instances.
Yeah, you've got to have like almost the type of a contextualization so that you can appreciate it. Otherwise, it's just too difficult.
But I don't think the anime is as bad.
No, but the anime is more sort of that like raunchy humor, and thankfully this person knows me, so they know that that's kind of down my alley in terms of my sense of humor. So, but it's just awesome. I like the thing is that it's got like that veneer of raunchy humor over the top, but when you kind of go a little bit deeper, it always sort of shows more heart to it. The main character is constantly talking about getting with schoolgirls, which is kind of horrific when you think about it, that he's studying as a teacher. But when it comes down to the line, he will always forego any hope of that to just try and actually help them out in life so that they get a decent start.
Yeah, he's not actually a monster, and he just. But that is the whole premise of the show. Is he appears to be like this rough kind of. I mean, he's a biker gang leader who decides he doesn't like his job as a window cleaner, and wants to instead go and be a teacher. And for some reason, he has a university degree, which is explained because there's a prequel manga to it.
I mean, I think it's mostly because of his karate scholarships.
I don't know. there's like a whole story with the biker gang, and they're the ones that put
Yeah.
him through college, right?
Yeah.
So, but then he kind of falls in love
Okay.
with one of the female teachers in the
Mm,
show.
mm.
I love the vice principal.
Oh yeah, with his Cresta, his
Yeah,
car that completely gets demolished each second episode. Oh.
Crosita.
Mm.
I think in the show it's actually a Mercedes. I wish they had gone with the. I mean, and it's just a Toyota Cressida, right? It's not even like a
Yeah, yeah.
particularly fancy car.
No, it isn't. But it's like, you know, what a sort of
School,
someone in a schooling environment can afford, like the highest tier of that.
yeah, and he takes it. I mean, it's his pride and joy, and Onizuka destroys it every
Yeah.
episode.
And it's like this for him. It's the symbolism of what it will take to recover his family life, because his the vice principal's family is like sort of
Yeah,
distancing themselves from him, and he feels like he's losing his family. But this one thing, this car, will bring them back, and each time it just gets wrecked.
yeah.
It's
I mean,
great.
his daughter and his wife are. I mean, I think the issue is, no, Onizuka inadvertently fixes every character in the show, right? That's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And even the vice principal by the end of it is, kind of his family is fixed by the interactions of Onizuka on his life.
Mm.
Like he briefly dates the vice principal's daughter accidentally, and then like his wife moves in with him at some point. That was a weird episode.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of it, they all just appreciate the head teacher more for taking a stand on something or something. I can't
Yeah.
remember. It's a good TV show. It's a good manga. It's a good anime.
It's a nice
The
one to introduce people to. I like it.
the 2013 version of the TV show is garbage, but everything else is pretty good.
Mm. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you today. It was great. And yeah, that'll do it for us. Thanks everyone for listening. This has been that Japanese thing. Bye for now.
Bye.
Cheers.